So welcome to Muntons extract production facility in Stowmarket. So we're joined by Aidan today, and liquid malt extract is used for a number of options in the brewing industry. A lot of people would have a misconception that it's only suitable for homebrew, but it's good for color adjustment, for extending the capacity of your brewery, or maybe adjusting a gravity if it's a brand new recipe. So you guys make a lot of malt extract here, Aidan?
Yes, we do indeed. About 700 tonnes a week.
Wow.
So yeah, fair amount.
Take us through the process, not too technical, just keep it simple.
For sure.
What way do you start?
So we start off similar process to beer, where we will mill up our barley, mill it up into grist.
Yeah.
Take it through, goes through a bunch of conveyors and lifts.
Yeah.
And then it gets to our mash vessel, mix it in with some water, some enzymes, that sort of stuff. And then we will get a wort at the end of that.
Yeah.
As with beer, then it goes through our massive mash filter through there.
Yeah.
And then after that we evaporate it, and then we raise the sugar solids in the wort from around 20% up to about 80%.
Okay.
And then at the end you've got a nice wort malt extract.
So the way we, as brewers, we would approach a recipe is we generate a, use your recipe building calculator and use all these different malts and specialty malts. You actually use green barley here as well as barley that's been processed through the maltings, is that right?
Yes, we do indeed.
Okay.
So yeah, we would, to account for that, we would, in our mash, we would add enzymes to bring out the starch content and convert it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we also have a ratio of malt to unmalted barley as well.
Okay, so the portfolio of products that you do here ranges from really light in color, like extra light, right through to a very dark malt extract.
Yes.
And malt extract's got countless, usable products that it's in a lot of foods and beers and, even for color adjustments and whiskies and things like that. What do you like about working in the plant here?
I really like it because it's a nice sort of visualization of what I've learned through university, and a lot of uni time spent during COVID, so a lot of in theory knowledge that has now been taken to practical knowledge and experience. It's been great so far. I've only been here a short period of time, but I've learned so much already. And I like the industrial nature of it all. It's good fun. You essentially move some pipes around. Get creative a little bit, but yeah.
I'd love a mash filter in our brewery. Like it's an incredible piece of kit here. But the mash filter just allows you to get that higher percentage of extract. Yeah. Okay. So we're in the extract plant, and Andy's going to kindly explain a few of the stages that we go through here. A little point, I just want to say it's incredible. Like Andy's been here 42 years, so that shows you the type of business that it is here at Muntons. So Andy, when it comes to making extract, it starts with?
It starts here. This is our initial input from the barley and the grain storage. So we select whether we're using barley or malt, and these each hold about 70 tonnes. So we can take a certain amount out for each brew, and it's controlled, and it comes through conveyors into a weigher.
Okay.
Where it weighs the amount that we require.
And then it gets milled.
And then it gets through a series of conveyors and elevators. It becomes milled and turned into a grist. And then it's conveyed into a holding hopper, where it goes through the next stage of the process.
Okay. Let's go and check out that next stage.
Okay.
So Andy, we're at the hammer mill. We've, called for the quantity of barley and grain that we need. Gets weighed out and sent here in lots, and then take us through what happens at this stage. Yeah,
and so then the grain comes through. It goes through a destoner process so that any stones are removed from the grain that come through. Then it goes through this hammer mill, which we use 3.5mm sieves. So then the grain is crushed into a fine grist powder, and then it's conveyed by a series of air suction systems through up into the holding hopper there, which is then from the holding hopper, it can then be moved on to the next stage.
Let's get mashing. straight over to the next stage. So Andy, next stage is obviously we've went through selecting the grain, milling the grain, now we need to mash the grain. So take us through the process and how your mash vessel works.
Okay, right, so each individual brew has got its own recipe and the recipe is programmed in. So then when we call for it to mash in, it will transfer the grain, the grist into the mash vessel and add water, liquid at the same time and form a mash, stirring in this mash vessel. And then it will, depending on the recipe, it will run through a series of temperatures and times. So I generally will mash in around 50 degrees and it will have a standing time, and then it will be raised up to the next temperature. It all depends on what the recipe is calling for at the time. And then we add a certain amount of enzyme to increase the conversion. It helps with the conversion with when we use, because we use a majority of barley.
So it needs enzymes.
So it needs the enzymes. Generally, malt is fine. We add a little bit of enzyme to that. But so that it runs through the process, and then once it reaches 80 degrees, denatures the enzyme, and then it will be transferred through our mash filter.
So it's a nice piece of kit. So we'll move on to mash filter next. Cool.
Okay.
So Andy, we're at the mash filters now, and I watched these in operation earlier. They're incredible pieces of kit. So the mash gets transferred from mash tank here and pumped through these plates. And then these little hoses obviously inflate the plates to lock in the mash, and then is there steam or hot water poured through them?
Yes, it will put the mash through, and then once the mash is filtered through, it will start a sparge of 80 degree water. So 80 degree water sparges through the mash filter plates to remove any remaining sugars. And then it goes into compression. So each of these plates will have a certain amount of air put on, so they inflate to squeeze the grist from the liquid. The liquid is what we use for the evaporator, and we will evaporate the liquid. The grain or grist remains on the plates. When the plates open, the grains drop and we expel them out to the bins outside where it's sold on as a byproduct.
So this is just from brewers watching this that maybe aren't familiar with mash filters. Someone that loiters, where they're sparging from the top of the the loiter ton, they rinse the residual sugars out. This is just a fancy machine to make sure you get all the extract out.
Exactly. It's just a more technical version of a lautering process, really. It's all less hands-on kind of thing.
Cool. Thank you. So Andy, after the evaporation process takes place, the malt extract is created, goes into one of these. It's just like a wort holding tank?
We call them blenders because there's more than one individual brew usually goes into, especially a sized one like this, which will hold about 30 tons of extract. So if we're making a 10 ton per brew, we'll get three brews into these blenders. And so this is the final point where before loading or packaging, there's various size blenders in the factory. There's two outside that are larger than this, hold 40 tons. As I say, these four hold 30 tons.
Are they kept at temperature in these
vessels? Are, yes. We usually keep them sort of 55 degrees is a good temperature
for movement.
We don't have it any cooler than that because it does. But we have got the ability to heat up the individual blenders as well to bring them into a good package temperature. So
production time from start to finish for a batch. What are we talking?
Probably about from starting milling to finishing is probably about 12 hours from actually starting milling to actually being in the blender.
Okay.
About 12 hours. You've got 3 hours approximately milling, 3 hours mashing, 3 hours transfer, and then 3 hours evaporation.
Okay.
So it's approximately 12 hours. Yeah.
Awesome. So Andy, we're outside the evaporator. We had a look in it. It's noisy, so we thought
It's
better to
very
chat
noisy,
here. Take us through what happens.
Right, so we've seen the making of the wort through the mash filter, then it goes into a holding tank, then it will go through an evaporator process where 20 sugar solids, we convert it up to whatever the customer wants, which is generally about 80% sugar solids.
Yeah.
Now to do that, we have to evaporate off water, and we do that under vacuum, because under vacuum we can keep the boiling point lower.
Yeah.
So we boil off the water in the first stage and turn it from 20 sugar solids to about 60 sugar solids.
Yeah.
And then we have a finisher, which we can then evaporate to whatever specification we want. Usually, as I say, about 80. But yeah, so we do it under vacuum so that there's less colour change. So there's less colour change in the product because we're not heating it. So we're not actually boiling it off at a high temperature, we're boiling it at lower temperature.
Yeah.
So and then that, from the evaporator, it just gets pumped over to our storage tanks.
Yeah. And then subsequent packaging to whatever the customer needs, whether it's a jerry can or a tanker load.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
right.
Thank you so much for your time
right.
today.
That's
It is genuinely appreciated.
That's
So
okay.
thank you.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, all good. Thank you.
Cool. Okay.
So we're at the final stage of the production process for liquid malt extract, and I'm joined by Eva, who is a production manager. Yeah, and you look after packaging. So tell us about the different pack sizes that are open.
Right, so we can pack into the IBCs, drums, jerry cans, so straight into the tanker. It depends of what customer wants and what is the requirement. So we've got obviously a planning team that is saying us what is the customer requirements, how much they want. When we get that order, we obviously pack what customer wants.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to get across to the viewers watching this is many products in your kitchen cupboards, whether that be a cereal or a malt forward drink or chocolates, and there's a lot of the big global manufacturers use the products, so that's why you sell tanker loads.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit more interest into the production here and the fact that liquid malt's in a hugely diverse range of products out there. So thanks so much for showing us around.
Right.
Really appreciate it. How long have you been at Muntons?
A bit more than 6.5 years.
Right.
So
what do you like about working at Muntons?
I love the Muntons, obviously, for the fact that they are really looking after you, and you can get some nice products straight from the factory as well.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of lovely people working here as well, and they do look after you.
Yeah, lovely.